Robert was driving down the bustling avenue of Chicago, the soft melody of a 1970s song playing on the car radio. The sky was cloudy, and a gentle breeze swayed the branches of the trees lining the street. As he stopped at a traffic light, he automatically glanced out the window, a habit he had acquired over the years to observe the urban landscape. Suddenly, his heart stopped. In the car in the next lane was Sharon, his wife. She appeared excited, talking and laughing with a man he didn't recognize. What made it even stranger was the fact that Sharon had told him that morning that she was feeling very unwell and needed to rest at home. The image of his wife laughing with a stranger while claiming to be sick left him perplexed. On impulse, Robert grabbed his phone and dialed Sharon's number. The ring seemed to last an eternity. When she finally answered, he could hear the sound of a television program in the background. "Hi, Rob," she said sleepily. "Love, where are you right now?" he asked, trying to control the nervousness in his voice. "At home, in bed," she replied. "Why?" Robert hesitated for a moment, his eyes fixed on the car next to him. "Nothing, I was just thinking about you," he lied. "Get well soon, okay? I love you." "I love you too," Sharon whispered, and the call ended. Robert stared at the phone for a moment, his face pale, and his thoughts swirling. Confusion had taken over, and the question of who was that in the car wouldn't leave his mind. Robert was driving at a slightly above normal speed. The familiar road blurred before his tormented eyes. Every synapse in his brain was firing, trying to piece together what he had just witnessed. Upon entering the house, silence enveloped him, interrupted only by the soft hum of the television in the bedroom. He walked with heavy steps, slowly opening the bedroom door. Sharon was there, tucked under the covers, her hair scattered on the pillow, her eyes closed in what seemed to be peaceful sleep. "Sharon," he called, his voice trembling. She stirred, rubbing her eyes and sitting up. "Rob, did something happen?" He took a deep breath, the image of the woman in the car still vivid in his mind. "Who was with you in the car today?" Sharon blinked, surprised. "Car, Rob? I've been here all day." He stared at her, his eyes searching for any sign of deceit. "I saw you, Sharon, with a man in the city center." Sharon's face lost all color, but she quickly forced a nervous smile. "You must be mistaken. Maybe it was someone who looked like me. After all, you know how it is, right? These things happen, even in movies, look-alike people crossing paths in the city." Robert looked deeply into her eyes, trying to discern the truth behind her words. Uncertainty hung in the air, making the atmosphere in the room palpable and heavy. The tension between Robert and Sharon had lessened somewhat in the days following that incident, but the mystery remained a shadow silently looming between them. One evening, while dining by candlelight in an attempt to restore some normalcy, Sharon gathered the courage to share something she had kept secret. "Rob," she began, hesitating for a moment and taking a sip of her wine. "There's something I need to tell you. A few weeks ago, when I was coming back from the conference in New York, something, well, strange happened." Robert raised his eyebrows, setting aside his fork and looking at her with full attention. "On the plane," continued Sharon, "there was a woman sitting a few rows ahead of me. I wouldn't have noticed, except that she looked exactly like me. It was like looking in a mirror. I was so shocked that I ended up staring at her for quite some time." Robert swallowed. "What? How is that possible?" Sharon shook her head, as bewildered as he was. "I didn't know. After the plane landed, I couldn't resist and approached her. Her name is Anna, and, as crazy as it sounds, she was born in the same city as me. We talked for a while in the airport lounge, both equally fascinated and confused. Does she know about the coincidence of you both being born in the same place?" Robert asked, clearly intrigued. Sharon nodded. "Yes, and believe it or not, she was just as surprised as I was. We wondered if there was any logical explanation for the resemblance, a coincidence, perhaps. But something tells me there's more to this story than meets the eye. Both of them were lost in thought. The revelation opened a Pandora's box of possibilities and questions. As days passed, the resemblance between Sharon and Anna became an obsession. Nights were filled with phone calls and text messages as they shared memories, personality traits, and details about their lives in an attempt to find any clue about their connection. On a cloudy afternoon, while having coffee at a corner cafe, Anna made a suggestion. "Sharon, what if we took a DNA test? I know it might seem extreme, but I have this feeling." Sharon looked at her, hesitant for a moment, but then nodded. "Yes, you're right. We need to know. I can't live with this mystery haunting me." A few weeks later, the day both feared and longed for finally arrived. The two of them sat on Sharon's living room couch, a sealed envelope on the coffee table. It was the result. Anna, with a determined look, tore open the envelope. Both leaned in, their eyes fixed on the paper. Reading the words, Anna muttered, "Sisters, twins." Anna felt the ground disappear from under her feet. "It can't be, my parents would have told me." Sharon swallowed hard. "And mine? What do they know?" They looked at each other, emotions flowing between them, surprise, shock, confusion, and resolute determination. "We need to confront them," Sharon said. "We need the truth." Anna nodded, squeezing Sharon's hand. "Together, we'll figure this out." Sitting in the spacious wooden kitchen of Sharon's parents' home, Anna and Sharon anxiously waited as the aroma of freshly brewed tea filled the air. On the other side of the table, Sharon's mother, Margaret, and father, Noah, watched the two remarkably similar women with a mix of curiosity and anxiety. "Darling," said Sharon, her voice trembling, "there's something we need to tell you, and it might be hard to believe." Anna added, "It's about our resemblance, our connection." Margaret, clearly emotional, responded, "I've heard some rumors. I didn't believe it was possible, but now that I see you two together, it's undeniable." Sharon took a deep breath, recounting the discovery, the DNA test, and the surprising verdict that they were twin sisters. She looked hopefully at her mother, seeking any sign of recognition or confirmation. Margaret's eyes filled with tears, and she covered her mouth with her hands. "Oh my God, it can't be," she whispered. Margaret took a moment to compose herself and, with a distant look, began her confession. "Sharon, during my pregnancy, I was so thrilled to find out we were having twins. It was a blessing I never imagined. But when the time came for delivery, after all the pain and turmoil, the doctors came to me with somber expressions." She swallowed hard, tears now freely flowing down her face. "They told me one of the babies didn't make it. They told me that you, Anna, had passed away. I was so stunned, so devastated. I never had the chance to see or hold my other baby. They said it was better that way for my sake." Noah remained silent, trying to stay strong in the face of the situation. Sharon, feeling a lump in her throat, asked, "And what did they do with the body?" Margaret shook her head. "I never knew. Everything was so fast, so confusing. I just accepted the pain and focused on taking care of you, Sharon." The silence in the room was palpable, the revelation bringing forth decades of hidden secrets and repressed emotions. The weight of the revelation left the room's atmosphere heavy and charged. Margaret's words, though spoken softly, resonated with the force of thunder for Sharon and Anna. Sharon, her eyes wide, locked gazes with Anna, who was sitting right in front of her, so real and tangible. "But, Mom, look at her," Sharon said, her voice almost a whisper. "Anna is here, alive and breathing." Anna, in turn, tried to connect with Margaret, seeking any recognition. "I'm here, Mrs. Mitchell, and I believe I'm your daughter too." Margaret, shaken, tried to focus on Anna, her eyes roaming the young woman's face, finding traits and similarities so familiar. "I don't understand," she murmured. How is this possible? The doctors were clear. They told me you hadn't survived." Noah couldn't hold back his tears and began to cry alongside his wife. Sharon took Anna's hand. "But she did survive, Mom, somehow, some way, Anna survived, and we need to uncover the truth behind all of this." When it came time to share the discovery with Anna's family, they went to Anna's parents' house, which she now discovered were likely not her biological parents. George and Elaine, Anna's adoptive parents, sat hesitantly, staring at the two young women before them. The resemblance between Sharon and Anna was undeniable, and an air of tension and anticipation permeated the room. George, a sturdy man with now graying hair, took a long sip of coffee before speaking. "Anna, we always knew this day might come. When we decided to adopt you, our hearts were filled with love and the need to share it. For years, we tried to have a child. We went to specialists, underwent treatments, but nothing seemed to work." Elaine, a gentle woman with soft features, added, "Then one night, we received a call. It was an opportunity, perhaps the only one we'd ever have, to have a child to call our own. And that child was you, Anna." Anna, her eyes welling up with tears, questioned, "But why didn't you ever tell me? I always thought I was your biological daughter." Elaine looked at her with tenderness. "You are our daughter in every way that matters. But we knew that biologically, we didn't share that bond. However, we never imagined that there would be another child, a twin sister. That never crossed our minds." George added, sincerity in his voice, "If we had known about Sharon's existence, we would have done everything in our power to keep you two together. You deserve to grow up together." Anna, absorbing all the information, murmured, "So somewhere, someone knew about us and decided to separate us." The room's atmosphere grew even heavier as the puzzle pieces began to fit together. Anna and Sharon looked at each other, seeking some form of solace or understanding. Standing while Elaine stared at the floor, trying to process the truth that had just been revealed, George, with a choked-up voice, began, "This wasn't how we planned things, Anna. We never wanted any of this to happen. We were desperate, and when you want something with all your heart, sometimes you make decisions without thinking about the consequences." Elaine, with tears in her eyes, added, "We were approached by a woman, an intermediary. She said she knew of a child who needed a home. They didn't tell us many details, just that the biological mother couldn't care for her. The opportunity to finally have a child was before us, and in that moment of desperation, we didn't question it." Anna, trying to maintain her composure, asked with a trembling voice, "But did you know you were essentially buying a baby?" George sighed deeply, looking at his daughter with sadness. "At the time, we convinced ourselves that we were just helping cover the birth expenses and taking care of you, but deep down, we always knew something was wrong. We never thought we were taking you away from your real family." Sharon, a mix of anger and confusion, exclaimed, "So, someone profited from our separation? Someone took advantage of your desperation and my mother's vulnerability?" Elaine nodded, her eyes filled with tears. "Yes, and that's a debt we can never repay. All we can do now is face the truth and try to make amends for the harm caused." With swollen eyes, Anna stood up and walked over to George and Elaine. It was clear that a conflict was raging in her heart. The room was filled with a heavy silence, interrupted only by the soft weeping of her mother. "Elaine, I can't deny the pain I'm feeling right now," Anna began, her voice wavering with emotion. "But I also can't deny the life I've had with you, the joy, love, and care you've always given me." George looked at her, his eyes equally filled with tears. "Anna, nothing we say now can change the past, but know that from the moment you entered our lives, we were committed to giving you the best of us." Elaine, with a sob, added, "We love you, dear. We've always loved you, and we never wanted to hurt you." Anna, observing the scene with keen eyes, interjected, "I understand what you did, as painful as it is to admit. But the truth needs to be told. Our families deserve to know." Sharon nodded in agreement. "Yes, Anna, you're right. We'll confront the truth, no matter how difficult, and I hope that somehow we can find a path to healing and understanding." The news of the discovery of the separated twin sisters spread like wildfire among the two families. On a cool evening, both families gathered at Sharon's family home to discuss what should be done next. Martha, Sharon's maternal grandmother, an elderly woman with piercing eyes and gray hair, spoke first. "I've lived many years, and I never thought I'd see something like this. I'm shocked, but I want to meet Anna. She's blood of our blood, after all." Sharon's father, Noah, pondered for a moment before saying, "I understand the need to meet, to connect, but we have to consider Anna's feelings. She grew up without knowing any of you. We need to be sensitive and patient." Elaine, Anna's mother, placed her hand on Noah's arm. "That's true," she said, her eyes moist, "but curiosity and the desire to connect are strong. I want to meet Sharon, the sister my daughter never knew she had." Margaret, looking at Elaine, nodded in understanding. "We know it's complicated, and we certainly don't want to rush anything. Let's take it one step at a time." George added, "Let's be transparent about our feelings and give time its time. Let Sharon and Anna take the lead." Sharon and Anna looked at each other, feeling the weight of the situation. Anna spoke, "I feel like there's a void in my life that only Sharon can fill. I want to get to know her better, and all of you too." Sharon smiled, supporting her sister. "We'll do this together, Anna, one step at a time." And so the two families decided to embark on this journey of discovery and healing together, but with care and consideration. Tension filled the air as the two families gathered separately to discuss the situation. Sharon's family's living room was filled with murmurs and thoughtful expressions, while Anna's home had a more reserved atmosphere, reflecting the hesitation to revisit a painful past. Lucas, Sharon's uncle, broke the silence, arguing, "Sometimes it's better to leave the past behind. What do we gain by reliving old traumas?" His wife, Clara, vehemently disagreed. "It's not just about the past, Lucas. It's about understanding and accepting the truth. Without it, how can we truly move forward?" On the other side of town, at Anna's home, her younger cousin Michael said, "I understand that we want answers, but at what cost? Digging up old wounds can be more harmful than beneficial." The tension was palpable. While some believed it was vital to unearth the truth and confront the facts head-on, others felt apprehensive, concerned about the emotional consequences such a journey could bring. What was certain was that regardless of the decision made, everyone's lives were destined to change forever. One day, Anna was on her way home after a long day when a speeding car crashed into her side. The impact was severe, sending her car into a pole. At the hospital, doctors rushed back and forth. She had lost a lot of blood and needed an immediate transfusion. Desperate, Anna's parents contacted Sharon, knowing that as an identical twin, there was a good chance of compatibility. With a trembling voice, Anna's mother whispered on the phone, "Sharon, Anna has had an accident. She needs you." Sharon, with a heavy heart, rushed to the hospital, but to everyone's shock, her blood was not compatible. The atmosphere in the waiting room was unbearable. George, Anna's adoptive father, in a desperate attempt, offered to be tested. He said, trying to contain his emotions, "She may not be my biological daughter, but she is still my daughter, and if I can help, I'd do anything." To everyone's surprise, his blood was compatible with Anna's. The doctors quickly prepared George for the donation. He turned to Sharon's adoptive parents, placing his hand on George's shoulder, and said, "I'm not just saving Anna, I'm saving a part of Sharon too." After the transfusion, Anna's recovery was remarkable. George's action, more than just a blood donation, became a symbol of unity and solidarity. Both families, once separated by secrets and doubts, were now united by the unconditional love Noah had demonstrated. Dinner was silent, with each member of the two families sitting at the same table, lost in their own thoughts. The soft sound of utensils touching plates was almost deafening in that dense atmosphere. Anna broke the silence. Her eyes were moist. "I've spent my whole life feeling like something was missing, a part of me that was absent. I never thought it would be so literal." She looked at Sharon, whose eyes mirrored the same sentiment. Sharon, swallowing hard, replied, "We found the truth in the midst of the storm. We found each other in the midst of the chaos." She then placed her hand on Anna's, and despite the pain and confusion, "I wouldn't trade this reunion for anything." Anna's father, with a trembling voice, added, "We made mistakes, kept secrets, and got caught in lies. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the truth has a way of coming to light, whether sweet or bitter." Sharon's mother, tears streaming down her face, sobbed, "You two have shown us that even in the darkest moments, there's room for understanding. The connection you share, even after years apart, is the purest testament to that." The two families, once strangers to each other, were now intertwined by an inescapable truth. The discovery, though painful, brought a new understanding and perspective on what it means to be family. It was a truth that carried both scars and healing. Years passed, and as time marched on, Sharon and Anna became inseparable. Their frequent meetings were filled with laughter, shared stories, and dreams of a future they never imagined having together. On a sunny afternoon, while sitting in an outdoor cafe, Anna, with a bright smile on her face, showed Sharon a dazzling ring on her finger. "He proposed," she exclaimed, "and I said yes." Sharon, her eyes shining with joy, hugged her sister. "I'm so happy for you." "And guess what?" She then revealed her own engagement ring. "I'm getting married too." Time flew by, and both had stunning weddings, celebrated with great joy and surrounded by the two families that were now one. Not long after, life brought them another gift. Both gave birth to beautiful children, filling their lives with indescribable love and joy. Anna, cradling her newborn son, murmured to Sharon, "Look at us, from strangers to sisters, and now mothers. Life has curious ways of surprising us." Sharon, smiling as she watched her own children play, agreed, "It's amazing how life has its own plans, and I am eternally grateful for every twist and turn." Both continued their journeys, facing challenges, celebrating victories, and, above all, cherishing the unbreakable bond that only true sisters could share. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.